We are here today with author Peter Hardy, who has recently written a book called In Search of the Messiah. So thanks for joining us today, Peter. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Well, it's a description of a period of history of 140 years, from 70 years before the birth of Jesus to 70 years after the birth of Jesus. And it attempts to show the process through chronicling those years of how Jesus became the Messiah within the context of the greater Roman world. I'd say it's about 80% Roman history and about 20% Jewish and Christian history.
Okay. So what was your inspiration, or where did you come up with the idea behind this book?
I've always been interested in the concept of the Messiah and where that came from and how it evolved from the early writings of Isaiah to the New Testament writings of Paul, and how it came into the Roman world from the Jewish world and from the previous civilizations, from the Assyrians to the Babylonians to the Persians to the kingdoms of Alexander the Great and his successors, and then it came into the hands of the Romans and became manifested in Jesus, and it remains that today. So I think people today should be interested in knowing why we call Jesus our Messiah, and this attempts to explain that or to describe it.
Okay. So is it kind of a combination of what we read in scripture, also then combined with some of those, you mentioned some Roman historians, different people, is it kind of that combination of bringing those together and looking at it from both perspectives, it sounds like?
Well, the way it ended up was mostly being about the Romans.
Okay.
And they're kind of you kind of have to see that the Jews and the Christians were a very small part of the greater Roman world. The Romans were in Britain, and they were in Spain, and they're in Africa, and they're also in the east, in Syria and Judea. And what they were doing there was very important, but it was just a small part of the greater Roman world. And I do try, and I also try to include the world east of the Euphrates River, which is the kingdoms of Parthia and Armenia.
Okay.
And that area too, because the relations that the Romans had with them had an impact on because there are Jews west of the Euphrates River that the Romans dealt with, and there are Jews east of the Euphrates River that the Parthians dealt with as well.
Okay. Sounds really interesting. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
Anything else? Well, I think that you'll see that, when you go through the year by year chronology, that things are a process, and it's very hard to spot, when you go year by year. So, because in Christianity, there's belief that it's basically a supernatural event, that something happened that's hard to believe, and we kind of have to spot that supernatural event, and it doesn't happen, because it's like if you go to the Grand Canyon, you'll see that the Grand Canyon was formed by millions of years of natural processes. It's not a supernatural event that created the Grand Canyon, and human history is kind of the same way. It's a gradual process.
Well, thanks for sharing with us, Peter. We appreciate it. You can grab a copy of his book, In Search of the Messiah. It's available in both hardback, paperback, or an ebook version. You can get it through Amazon online, through Barnes and Noble, or even on iTunes and read it on your Kindle. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.